I thought you didn't like saunas. I don't, I admitted, but today's an exception. He shrugged and sat on the bench across from me. His presence filled the small space, his toned physique and damp hair drawing my gaze no matter how hard I tried to look away. We sat in silence, the heat intensifying the tension between us. After a while, Ethan broke the quiet. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice softer now. I hesitated. "Why do you ask?" "You've seemed off lately," he said, "like something's bothering you." "It's nothing," I lied, hoping to deflect his concern. "Is it my dad?" he pressed, his tone tinged with worry. "You don't have to pretend with me, Amelia. I can see it." His honesty caught me off guard. "He's always gone," I admitted quietly. "Sometimes it feels like I don't even exist to him anymore." Ethan leaned closer, his expression serious. "You deserve more than that. You deserve to be seen, to be valued." His words sent a shiver through me, despite the heat. I looked away, unsure how to respond. Then I felt his hand on mine. His touch was gentle but reassuring. "You're not alone," he said softly. The sauna seemed to grow hotter, though I knew it wasn't just the temperature. Ethan's touch stirred something in me, both thrilling and terrifying. I should have pulled away, should have reminded us of the boundaries, but I didn't. Instead, I met his gaze, those intense blue eyes that usually sparkled with mischief, but now seemed deeper, more vulnerable. It felt as though he could see past the facade of Thomas's wife to the real me beneath. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice shaking. He leaned closer, still holding my hand. "You don't have to say anything," he murmured. "I know this is complicated, but I can't ignore how I feel when I'm with you." His words hung in the air between us, a confession that left my heart racing. I struggled to find a response, but came up empty. All I could do was sit there, drawn into the magnetic pull of his gaze. Before I could stop myself, I whispered, "This isn't right." "But it feels right," he countered, his voice steady. "Doesn't it?" I hated how much it did. I agreed with him, feeling how my body betrayed my mind. The heat in the sauna paled in comparison to the warmth flooding through me as he leaned closer, his face just inches from mine. "I see you, Amelia," he whispered, "not as my father's wife, but as the incredible woman you are, and I can't pretend I don't." His words shattered my resolve. Without thinking, I closed the distance between us, my lips meeting his in a soft, tentative kiss. It was gentle at first, testing the boundaries of what we both knew was wrong. But as his hand cupped my face, the kiss deepened, and all restraint vanished. The walls of the sauna seemed to close in, trapping us in a world where nothing mattered but the moment we were sharing. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I let myself get lost in the intensity of it all. For the first time in years, I felt alive, desired, wanted, and truly seen. The heat of the sauna blended with the warmth radiating from Ethan's touch, creating an intoxicating, overwhelming sensation I hadn't anticipated. My breath hitched as his fingers brushed the fabric of my robe, hesitant yet purposeful, seeking permission. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. Every rational thought was drowned out by the connection growing between us. His lips gently explored mine, tasting, testing, as if this moment felt as surreal to him as it did to me. I felt his warm breath on my cheek, matching the frantic rhythm of my heart. His hand moved to my back, pulling me even closer. "Amelia," he murmured, his voice trembling with emotion. He pulled back slightly, just enough to look into my eyes, his blue gaze searching for hesitation. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, his voice rough with desire. I couldn't. My body leaned into his, craving the comfort and heat he offered. My hands found their way to his chest, tracing the contours of his body, memorizing the feel of him. I had spent so long denying myself, living a life of routine and emptiness. Now he was awakening something in me with every touch, every breath. "Don't stop," I whispered, the words slipping out before I could reconsider. That was all he needed. His lips returned to mine, this time with more urgency, no hesitation. The kiss deepened, each movement a declaration of the emotions we had both buried for so long. His hands roamed my back, igniting trails of fire along my skin, even through the thin fabric of my robe. The heat in the sauna mixed with the heat between us, becoming overwhelming. Sweat beaded on my forehead, but I didn't care. The world outside the wooden walls of the SAA no longer existed. There were no rules, no roles, just us. His hands found the knot of my robe, his fingers pausing briefly before pulling it loose. The fabric slid from my shoulders, pooling at my feet. Instead of fear, I felt liberated. Ethan's gaze remained fixed on me, admiration shining in his eyes. "You're incredible," he said, his voice husky with awe. I pulled him into another kiss, desperate to feel more, to lose myself in the emotions I had kept hidden for so long. His touch grew bolder, exploring every inch of me with reverence and desire. Time seemed to stand still as we lost ourselves in each other. The outside world faded away, and for the first time, I allowed myself to feel without fear or judgment. Ethan's lips moved from mine to my neck, his kisses leaving me breathless. The creaking of the SAA door brought us back to reality. We froze, our breaths mingling as we listened intently. After a moment, it became clear no one was there, but the interruption reminded us of the line we were crossing. I began, but Ethan stopped me with a finger to my lips. "No regrets, Amelia," he said, his voice firm but tender. In that moment, I realized I didn't regret a thing. Not the kiss, not the touch, not the emotions we had unleashed. For once I allowed myself to feel alive, and I knew that was something I couldn't take back. Even as we gathered ourselves, the weight of what had just happened lingered. This moment of passion had opened a door we couldn't close, and the consequences were yet to come. The silence between us as we left the SAA was deafening, yet it spoke volumes. The tension in the air was palpable, not from awkwardness, but from the gravity of what had just transpired. Ethan walked beside me, his hand brushing against mine occasionally, as though unsure whether to reach for it or keep his distance. Back inside the house, the world outside continued, as if nothing monumental had just happened. But inside, every glance, every small movement carried an undeniable charge. I excused myself under the pretense of needing to check my phone and retreated to the privacy of my bedroom. I closed the door behind me, leaning against it and exhaling a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. My mind raced, replaying every moment in the sauna, Ethan's gaze, the intensity of his touch, the fire that refused to die within me. How had this happened? My stepson, so much younger, had awakened something in me that I thought was long buried. Guilt began to creep in, gnawing at my thoughts, but it was mingled with something else, a strange sense of liberation. This wasn't just complicated, it was dangerous. A soft knock on the door startled me. Amelia. Ethan's voice was low, hesitant. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door handle before opening it. Ethan stood there, his hair slightly disheveled, his expression filled with concern and longing. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping inside without waiting for permission. I nodded, though I wasn't sure it was true. "I just need a moment to think," I said. He took a step closer, his presence filling the room. His question hung between us, heavy with meaning, and I couldn't avoid it. "Ethan, what happened?" "It was real," he interrupted, his voice firm. "It wasn't just a fleeting moment, Amelia. You felt it too." I couldn't deny it. The connection, the passion. It was undeniable, but that didn't make it right. "We have to be careful," I said, my voice trembling, filled with doubt. "Your father—" "My father doesn't see you," Ethan interrupted sharply. "He's so caught up in work and his life outside this house. You deserve more than being an afterthought." His words stung, and the loneliness I had carried for years surged to the surface. Almost instinctively, I moved closer to him, reaching out for his touch. "Ethan," I whispered, barely audible. His hands gently cupped my face, his touch tender. "I don't care about what's right or wrong," he said, his eyes locked onto mine. "I care about you." Before I could respond, his lips met mine again. This kiss was different, deeper, more desperate, as if we both understood how fleeting this moment might be. I pulled away breathlessly, my hands resting on his chest. "Ethan, this can't be our reality," I said, my voice shaking. "We have to be careful." He nodded, but his eyes betrayed him. Determination burned in them. "I'm not letting this end, Amelia. I can't." The days that followed were filled with stolen moments and whispered confessions. We walked a fine line between secrecy and discovery, careful not to raise suspicion. Ethan found reasons to stay at the house, offering to help with chores or making excuses to spend time together. Every encounter was charged with tension, our touches lingering, our gazes heavy with unspoken words. The intensity of what we shared grew, and with it, the risk. One evening, as I prepared dinner, Ethan walked into the kitchen. He stood behind me, his presence overwhelming. His hands found my waist, and he leaned in close, his breath warm on my neck. "Can I help with anything?" he asked, his voice teasing. I turned to face him, my heart racing. "Ethan, we can't keep doing this," I said, though my resolve was weakening. He smirked, his confidence unsettling. "Then tell me to leave, Amelia. Tell me you don't feel the same way, and I'll walk away." I couldn't bring myself to say it. One night, the inevitable happened. A text message from Ethan's father appeared on my phone. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." I sat on the couch, staring at the message, feeling the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. Ethan entered the room, noticing the troubled look on my face. "He's not coming home, is he?" Ethan asked, sitting next to me. I shook my head, unable to speak. He reached for my hand, offering silent support. "You don't have to do this alone, Amelia," he said, his voice vulnerable. It shattered the last of my defenses. I turned to him, emotions spilling over. "What are we doing, Ethan? How can this work?" He didn't answer with words. Instead, he pulled me into his arms, holding me as I let my tears fall. It happened one quiet evening, one that felt deceptively safe. Ethan and I were sitting in the living room, the space charged with the intimacy we had developed. I lit a few candles, their soft glow adding warmth and intimacy to the room. Ethan sat next to me, his hand resting lightly on my knee. It was a subtle gesture, but it spoke volumes. We talked about nothing important, mundane things like his university assignments, the weather, and weekend plans. But the way he looked at me, his gaze lingering just a little too long, made even the most trivial conversation feel meaningful. Then, the front door opened unexpectedly. At first, I didn't register the sound, but when I saw Thomas step through the doorway, his coat thrown over his arm, time seemed to freeze. He froze in the entryway, his eyes narrowing as they scanned the scene. First, his gaze fell on Ethan, sitting too close to me. Then, his eyes moved to me, darkening as he took in the candles, the wine glasses, and the intimate atmosphere. "What's going on here?" Thomas's voice was sharp, cutting through the tension. Ethan stiffened beside me, his hand pulling away from my knee. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding. "Thomas, I didn't think you'd be home so early," I said, my voice shaky. "That much is clear," Thomas replied, his tone laced with suspicion. His eyes darted between us, looking for answers. "It's not what it looks like," Ethan said, standing as well, though his words felt hollow. Thomas's expression darkened, and his voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Then tell me what's going on, Ethan, because from where I'm standing, it looks like something is happening between my wife and my son." The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. "Thomas, please," I started, but he cut me off. "Don't," he snapped. "Don't lie to me, Amelia. I'm not an idiot." Ethan stepped forward, his jaw set. "You're right. Something is happening." My breath caught in my throat. I turned to Ethan, my eyes wide with disbelief. "Ethan, no," I whispered. But it was too late. Thomas's face turned red with fury. "You little—" He took a step toward Ethan, but I quickly moved between them, raising my hands. "Stop! Both of you! Just stop!" I shouted. "This is my fault. All of it. Don't blame Ethan." Thomas glared at me, a mixture of betrayal and disbelief in his eyes. "You're damn right it's your fault," he spat. "I trusted you, Amelia. I brought you into this house, made you part of this family, and this is how you repay me." Tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You've been absent, Thomas," I said, my voice breaking. "You've been so consumed with work and everything outside this house that I felt invisible for years. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but don't pretend you're blameless in this." Thomas looked stunned. He opened his mouth but then closed it again, at a loss for words. Ethan reached for my hand, his touch grounding me. "Don't talk to her like that," Ethan said firmly. "You've ignored her, treated her like furniture. She deserves better." Thomas turned on Ethan, his anger flaring. "And you think you're better? You think you can step in and play the hero?" The argument escalated, accusations flying. I stood between them, my heart breaking as the two people I cared about tore into each other. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Stop!" I screamed, my voice cracking. "This is over. All of it." Both men fell silent, staring at me. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "This family is broken, and it's my fault. I can't stay here and make it worse." Ethan looked devastated, reaching for my hand again. "Amelia, don't." "I have to," I said firmly, pulling away from him. "This isn't right, Ethan. It never was." Thomas didn't say anything, his face a mask of anger and hurt. I walked toward the bedroom, my heart heavy, as I packed my things. Tears streamed down my face, but I knew it was the only choice. When I left that night, I didn't look back. I moved to a small apartment across town, starting over in a life that felt both liberating and lonely. Ethan tried to reach out, messages, voicemails, but I couldn't respond. Thomas filed for divorce soon after, citing irreconcilable differences. The rift between Ethan and his father seemed irreversible. I thought about Ethan often, the passion we shared and the consequences of our actions. It was a bittersweet memory that would haunt me forever. Some choices leave scars that never fully heal, but they also teach us who we are. In the end, I had to let go of Ethan, not because I didn't love him, but because loving him had nearly destroyed us both. My name is Amelia, and if someone had told me that a simple trip to the SAA one summer afternoon would completely transform my life, I wouldn't have believed them. At 38, I had resigned myself to a life of quiet discontent. Marrying Thomas, a wealthy man nearly 2 decades my senior, seemed like the practical choice. He was charming, accomplished, and offered the stability my previous relationships had lacked. But as time passed, the connection we once had faded, buried under his frequent business trips and emotional distance. I found myself wandering our sprawling estate alone, trapped in a marriage that felt more like a transaction. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so I can keep sharing captivating, true stories like this one. Don't forget to watch this video until the end and hit the like button. This story is going to be truly gripping. Your support means everything, so please give it a thumbs up. Then there was Ethan, Thomas's son from his first marriage. At 22, Ethan was everything his father wasn't: young, vibrant, and surprisingly perceptive. After graduating college, he had moved back home, claiming it was to save money before starting his career. But I sensed there was more to his return than he let on. Ethan had a magnetic charm that was impossible to ignore. Whether it was his quick wit, the effortless confidence in his smile, or the way his piercing blue eyes seemed to see straight through me, he was undeniably captivating. Despite my efforts to maintain propriety as his stepmother, the unspoken tension between us grew stronger with each passing day. It was one of those sweltering summer days when the house felt stiflingly silent. Thomas was away again, leaving Ethan and me alone. I spent the morning tidying rooms that didn't need attention and flipping through books I had no interest in. By the afternoon, the heat was unbearable, and I remembered the SAIA near the pool house, a part of the estate I seldom used. I threw on a silk robe over my swimsuit and made my way there. The cedar-scented air enveloped me, and the gentle hum of the heating unit soothed my restless mind. I closed my eyes, letting the warmth seep into my skin and the solitude calm me. Minutes passed before I heard the door slide open. I opened my eyes to see Ethan stepping inside, a towel slung loosely around his waist. "I didn't know anyone else used this place," he said casually, a smirk playing on his lips. "What are you doing here?" I replied sharply. "I could ask you the same thing," he countered, leaning against the wall.